Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of For the Fans podcast. It is going on to week 7. We just finished up week 6, and there was a lot of injuries this week.
It wasn't even necessarily the injuries that were the big issue, too. There was a lot of matchups that went the exact opposite of the way we expected them to.
And there was also talk of reps fixing games again. That's always fun.
We're going to hear that basically ever since the NFL script idea came around.
Yeah, but it's getting like real bad. Like I think it was last night's game with the Cowboys and the Chargers. There was like 16 penalties called.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest, I watched that game. There were some penalties that I was looking at going, come on, man.
I think
That's not how you call it.
I think that's what everybody's been doing. It's like, okay, that's not how you call that. And then other people, where it should have been a no call, get a call. And then things where it's like, okay, how come you're not calling this for this player when that was like blatant roughing the passer or blatant pass interference? It's just, ugh.
Yeah, I'd agree. One of the big ones, though, that I don't feel like kind of didn't get called last night, though, that I feel like really irritated me, maybe to an extent, because I feel like if you're gonna call him dumb, then call him dumb. You better call this one too. Um, there was it was the Chargers' ball, and they were on their own goal line, basically moving, moving the opposite
Yep.
way, and Austin Eckler was given the ball, and he was hit really hard, and the ball came out of his hands before there was a leg, before there was a leg down, a knee down, his butt down, an elbow down, anything like that. And they said that he was down, and it was not a fumble, which would have immediately been picked up and scored for 6 by the Dallas defense. But they called it that he was down. And I look at that and I say, by all definitions of the rule, that's a fumble. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's definitely some frustration with stuff like that.
Sadly, officiating isn't consistent.
Yeah, I understand it's not perfect, but it just gets irritating, especially when you're someone who's up on the high part of the, whether you're doing from excuse me, the TV or from the stands, and you can see it better than the refs. Why can't we provide access to that and give opportunities for the refs to make those calls when they're that blatant? I don't know.
I
Again,
don't
I
know.
understand too that like with the refs, you sometimes just want to let them play the game, but sometimes they don't let them play the game. Sometimes they just go for it and come up with these wacky penalties.
And that's why they're talking about potentially bringing back the challenging pass interference penalties of saying, hey, this wasn't actually pass interference, pick up that flag.
Hmm.
And honestly, I'm all for it at this point.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that too. Outside of the refs, the complaints surrounding the refs, we need to talk about the injuries this week, Shane. Obviously, a big one, which I think really led to the issues for the San Francisco 49ers this week. They've had some injuries that have caused some questions for them. We've got Deebo Samuel out with a shoulder injury, and that one could be a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we've got offensive tackle Trent Williams with an ankle injury. He was able to finish the game, so he's labeled as day to day right now, as is Deebo. Excuse me. So we'll see how they go with how things go with them. It was announced only a couple of hours ago that Christian McCaffrey is actually doing well. He avoided serious injury with his oblique, and that he is potentially going to play on Monday Night Football. That is the good news when it comes to the injury. Now there's the bad news.
Yeah, couple of quarterbacks went down, and we don't know expected time to be back. Bears quarterback Justin Fields has a dislocated thumb and will be out for at least 1 to 2 games, possibly more. So kind of sucks for the Bears. And there is currently no official word on Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence and the full extent of his injuries. He's considered day to day, and some people are saying, oh, he should be able to play on Thursday. Other people are saying, it's looking like he might not be playing this Thursday. So we'll have to wait and see. Coach Peterson said that Trevor Lawrence doesn't need to practice this week in order to play on Thursday, so keep an eye on that.
I'd definitely be careful with that. You and I discussed this earlier because we talked about we referenced Tua Tagovailoa last season. Obviously where it says, oh, he's fine, he's not that hurt, and then of course next game he plays, he has to go to the hospital. Again, this isn't the same thing because this doesn't necessarily have to do anything with concussion, but you worry about, do you push too much on Trevor Lawrence? Because the biggest thing that concerns me is I'm not too concerned about what the Saints offense provides, but their defense is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder if that could potentially be a problem. And is it safer because of Trevor's injuries, which we still don't know the extent of, it's still day to day? Is it better to hand this over to a backup, see how they can scrape through this game, and see if we can get Trevor back next week? That is an option at
Yeah.
least for the Jaguars.
I say put in the backup because he has 2 offensive linemen that may not be playing this week from his starters, so he's going to be down 2 linemen. He's already hurt, and he's walking around in a knee brace right now. You go this week on a short week. It's not going to give him time to rest. Then after this week, you have the Steelers, and then they're on a bye week. So I'm like, I think it's better just to rest him this week, come in next week, see how he's doing. If not, rest him again, and then he'll have the bye week and be good to go.
Definitely. And that's an option that the Jaguars have. For the Colts, it's a different story because there's looking like Anthony Richardson, their quarterback, likely out for the season with the need for shoulder surgery. Now, that being said, I think we can trust Gardner Minshew well enough to be able to carry that team in the quarterback duties. However, they do need to make sure that they are not giving him too much of the workload. So this is what I'm saying, where it's like, okay, make sure that you are utilizing Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor well enough. That's the only thing I have to say, at least, about the situation with the Colts.
Yeah, Colts are in a rough spot.
Did I miss anything with that?
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. Okay, then going into our wows and our woes here, I'm gonna actually start us off tonight because I know normally we go you then me. I'll go with mine here really quickly because the big one that I know we need to talk about, there's been a lot of conversation about it, obviously, because it involves the favorite for the Super Bowl, and that's the San Francisco 49ers playing against the Cleveland Browns, who did not have their starting quarterback, nor their starting running back, because obviously we got Chubb's injury, Watson's been out with an injury. They started PJ Walker, who actually, mind you, in the offseason was with the Bears before he was waived. And the Browns won the game. Their defense did their job. They made it difficult against the Niners, who were down with injuries. And the Niners blew it. Oh, well, if anyone's wondering who's listening right now, yes, my daughter is currently hanging out with us right now.
All fun.
And Sierra's probably just saying something like "Go Niners" or something like that. I don't know, but
at least she's picking a better team than the Bears.
Yeah, well, I'm teaching her. I want to make sure she has a good life, unlike me. So.
Hey, you guys always have the '80s and the past years, but not current.
Dang, I wasn't alive during the '80s, so it doesn't matter.
See, that's the nice thing with my team. I've been alive for as long as they've been alive.
Exactly. There you go. They're only just starting to get really consistently good again.
Yep. Anyways, going back to the 49ers and Browns.
Yeah, anyway, 49ers had a chance to actually win the game, but they blew it on the game-winning field goal, which I know a lot of 49ers fans were going, man, why did we get rid of Robbie Gould?
Man, that was very sad to watch. Well,
yeah,
I shouldn't say sad to watch because they cut away from the 49ers and Browns game.
Let's go into like the questions though for each of these teams. So first of all, let's talk about the Browns, who are the winners. Do you think they can compete on their division based upon their defense? Because I got no hope for their offense right now. I feel like they're almost worse with Deshaun Watson as their quarterback, and obviously they don't have Nick Chubb. But their defense is solid. What do you think?
It's so hard to say because that's a division where everything's up in the air right now. The Ravens look good, but also look bad. The Steelers, it's any given week. The Bengals have started off really bad, which we always talked about. They start off bad and then they get better. But they still haven't shown that greatness that they have in the past few years.
It's true. And they've basically been getting wins against teams that, I don't know, aren't necessarily super stellar, and they've been close wins.
Like, they barely beat the Seahawks. They beat the Cardinals by 14, but
But they barely beat the Rams, and they barely beat the Seahawks.
And they lost to the Titans by 24 points.
Exactly. And they've lost to the Browns, who are their own division rival. And they lost to the Ravens as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, those were the first 2 weeks of the season. We always talk about how the Bengals are at the first 2 weeks of the season. But besides that, excuse me, still kind of recovering. I actually had pneumonia, by the way, Shane. That's what that
Oh,
sickness was.
fun.
So, yeah, I'm feeling better now, but the problem is you still got that gunk inside your system. So now my lungs are working overtime, and, I'm getting winded pretty easily. But more to the point here. Let's finishing up with the Browns here. I think there's potential for them to compete based upon their defense. I think Deshaun Watson makes this team worse than better, so he's really got to make some changes here if there's a possibility for the Browns. The Browns ceiling, yeah, I'd say there's a potential for the division championship or a wild card. But am I holding my breath for it? Not necessarily.
Yeah, I think if they get to the playoffs, they'll be a first round exit.
Yeah. Now, how about the 49ers? Bigger expectations. We've talked about, with the situation with Christian McCaffrey and Debo. McCaffrey's not going to be injured long term. Debo, maybe a week, maybe a little bit more. But at the same time, if Debo's hurt, you've got Ayuk, you've still got Juwan Jennings, you've got other capable receivers who could step up.
You got Kittle.
Ken Brock, yeah, you got Kittle. They should throw the ball to Kittle more, if you ask me. And Brock Purdy still win without key weapons. I think he got a little bit unmasked with this loss, his first loss he's had in the regular season ever. But at the same time, I don't enjoy the comparisons that are saying, oh, he's Mac Jones or Zach Wilson. No. Kid's still good. Kid still functions well in the system. But yes, it's easier when the whole system is working well together, which it wasn't against the Browns because of injuries.
And I even talked to you about this earlier this week, was name a team that can win and do well when they're missing two of their top offensive weapons. Not many can do it.
Exactly. And the Browns defense is one of the best in the league. And Shane, they almost won. The Niners almost won. It didn't come from Brock Purdy that they lost. It came from special teams.
Yeah, what was it? Was it like a 43, 45-yard kick that
45-yard
missed?
field goal. Yep.
And then that's something
From a
that a
rookie
kicker
kicker, if I
should
remember
be able
correctly.
to make almost any day of the week.
But under that type of pressure and a rookie, you never know.
Yeah, it's sad.
Are the 49ers still front runners for the Super Bowl? If you ask me, yes.
Yeah, especially when they get healthy again, they're still up there.
And we talked about it last week when you said, oh, is there a chance that they could go undefeated? I said, no, absolutely not.
Did you expect it to happen this week, though?
No, definitely not. I don't think any of us did. This is one of the biggest upsets that they've had in a long time.
Mm-hmm. Other than Super Bowl a couple of years back.
Yeah, that's right.
that was just sad.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on here. Now we talked about them earlier, the Bengals, and they played the Seahawks. They won 17-13. Jane, the first question we always have to ask: are the Bengals back?
I'm gonna say no.
We kind of touched on this already. No, they still got work to do. What needs to be fixed to give the Bengals a top spot in the AFC? You got to get more consistent play out of Joe Burrow to his receivers. And I think the secondary for the defense, I believe it's a secondary, based off what I was watching, needs to step up.
Yep, and they got a bye week to figure it out this week, so that should hopefully help them.
Right. It may be helpful in that regard. Sorely needed. Will we see the team go on a win streak after the bye? Maybe.
I would have to look further into their schedule. Let's see.
Yeah.
Their first game after their bye is the 49ers.
Interesting.
And then the Bills.
Interesting. But we know they can beat the Bills.
Yes, but I'm still gonna say no.
Yeah.
They have a tough schedule coming up.
They sure do. What about the Seahawks? What do they need to do to adjust to stay competitive? Because I feel like on paper that team's not bad. Kenneth Walker, great running back. Geno Smith gets the job done as quarterback. Great wide receiver core. Defense is solid enough. You got Bobby Wagner, you got Tariq Woolen, you got Devin Witherspoon, a potential defensive rookie of the year candidate. What do you need to adjust? It seems to me that their offense went a little stagnant in this game.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I just feel like their offense, with all these pieces there, they just don't have as big of and flashy of a game as I would like.
And I think the biggest thing that needs to come from the improvement in that regard is using the receivers better. Specifically, I think it's time that they figure out very quickly within the season how to unlock that full potential of Jackson Smith and Jigba. If
He
they
has been
use him more,
unheard of.
if if he was used better, things would be different. I fully believe that.
Yeah, but you never know until you use him and actually use him consistently, so we will have to wait and see on that.
For sure. Talk about some of the other games that you've got.
So first up, I got the Dallas Cowboys versus the LA Chargers. I figured we were going to come back to the Monday Night Football because we both saw this game, and a couple of weeks ago we were saying, oh, the Cowboys are frauds, like no one believes in the Cowboys aren't good anymore. But the Cowboys just beat the
Mhm.
Chargers, so are the Cowboys starting to bounce back after a rough couple of losses, or do you think they're just getting away with a easy-ish game?
Well, when you asked me about this earlier, you remember what my response was. I said Chargers get a Charger.
Yep, Chargers gonna Charger. Which
I
was
just
the second statement was, did the Chargers charger another game to the Cowboys?
In this case, I think they did. I think there were multiple opportunities where better plays could have been made there, and things didn't work in their regard. And the reason I say that is there were so many penalties on the
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys defense, and the Chargers couldn't capitalize on that enough.
And you also gotta look at it. The Chargers may be losing some of their top players this season because they currently have Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, who is out for the season, Keenan Allen. They picked up Quentin Johnson. I believe both Allen and Williams are on a contract year with Williams going to IR. He's probably not going to be coming back, which leaves Keenan Allen. Are you going to keep Keenan Allen or are you going to let him walk? And then you have
You
your
look at
rookie
the rest.
Quentin Johnston, who hasn't even done anything yet.
Well, and you look at the rest of their offense right now, and defense for that matter, as far as who is really looking great out there. You've got some players there, especially on the defense, who I think are big playmakers. Derwin James, Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack's got like a ton of sacks
Khalil
already
Mack,
this year.
yeah, you got like sit sats in one game.
Yep, and then I think he had 2 or 3 last night on Dak Prescott.
He's
So I
starting
mean,
to be good
you have
again.
yeah, you have contributors there, but the problem is too is that's sometimes is falling on the defensive side. On the offensive side, it was already a bad situation for the Chargers, despite that they had just come off the bye, and that was you still had Justin Herbert dealing with that broken finger injury. Yes, I understand it's on his non-throwing hand, but that can still throw you off your rhythm. Eckler had just come back from injury. The pieces weren't there, that's for sure. But I still feel like there was enough of an opportunity to capitalize on the missed play, on the blown plays, the defensive penalties, and they just couldn't do it. And so you asked the question: are the Cowboys starting to bounce back after a rough couple of losses? No, I think they got a little lucky getting out of there with the win that they did against the Chargers, who were pretty banged up and making dumb mistakes.
Yep.
It doesn't look good for the Chargers for their situation, that's for sure. But I don't really have all that faith in the Cowboys either. I don't care if Dak Prescott scored his first ever rushing touchdown of the season or his longest one ever. I don't care. I feel like there's things that are happening on the Cowboys offensive side too that things are just not clicking. I understand they've got their injuries on their offensive line, which aren't making things any easier. But I feel like, again, it comes down to Dak Prescott. If he is able to step it up and become the dynamic quarterback that he's always heralded to be, but never really steps up to that level, then we're going to see something different. But right now, you're looking at Dak Prescott, who can sometimes hardly get the ball to Lamb or Gallup or Cooks.
Yep. Moving on to the Chargers, where do you think the Chargers go from here? Because they're currently sitting at 2-4 or 2-3 on the season right now.
You want my honest opinion?
I want your honest opinion.
It might be time for the panic button.
Oh boy, don't tell
Chargers.
your cousin that.
Oh, I know, right?
Oh man.
He'd let me have it. But he may be thinking honestly the same thing because that game was winnable and they should have won it too because that would have put him in a winning record.
You
Now
have
they're below 500
you
again.
have so many good players on the Chargers team, but if you look at this has been the Chargers history. They have one of the best teams on paper where all the individuals across the board are really really good, but they can never put it together.
And here is the problem, Shane. Their own division they're already in trouble because the Chiefs have been getting away with wins, whether that's through the refs or not. Kind of through the refs, if you were to ask me. But so okay, they don't really have much competition when it comes to the rest of their division. The Raiders aren't great, the Broncos aren't great. But the problem is the battle for wild cards and division championships still very much up in the air for the AFC North. You have the Dolphins and the Bills for sure competing for playoff spots in the AFC East. And the Jets have all of a sudden gotten lucky as well. And then in the AFC South, the Jaguars have been getting wins. The Texans have been getting wins. The Colts have been getting wins. Where does that leave room for the Chargers?
They got to fight now, otherwise they might be out of it.
And with Eckler disputing his contract, Allen and Williams coming up on contract years, the big money that they just signed Justin Herbert to, and the fact that they are not getting wins, to me, says, uh-oh, we might need to panic here.
Yeah, and they even have some great defensive players and some great offensive line players, so it's going to be a rough time for them. But let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our trending up and trending down.
Well, you still got one more team, bro.
Oh, yeah! Do I, huh? Wow.
And we got to talk about this one. This is a big one, too.
Correct. Yeah. Wow. I completely spaced on that. We got the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Jets, where the Jets won 20-14, giving the Eagles their first loss of the season. So there's now no more undefeated teams with both the 49ers and the Eagles losing this week.
Right.
The thing that shocked me about this game is that, like, I was like, okay, the Jets have a good defense, but then they're without Sauce, or without their two starting cornerbacks. They don't have Rodgers. I'm just like, wow, this should be an easy game for the Eagles. The two starting cornerbacks are gone, and there's new starter quarterback has been out for the season, and Zach Wilson's back under helm. But they still failed to beat the Jets, missing their top talent. So we asked this question last week. We went through our frauds, walking the line, and contenders. So are the Eagles truly frauds because of this loss?
I think they're still walking the line. If I'm going to be honest with you, I think there was bound to be a loss at some point.
Yeah, I did not think it to the Jets, and honestly, like let's just say because I said that they were contenders. They moved on to walking the line, and they might even be closer to the frauds point for me now.
They might be, just because I do feel to a certain extent they've been getting cupcake wins, and now they've lost to the Jets. Now, granted, I don't think we're giving the Jets defense enough credit. I think there's something really good happening there for them.
I mean, I do too, but they were missing that talent.
No, but it doesn't change the fact whether Sauce was there or not. They've still got playmakers on the defensive side.
That's true.
And Sauce has been kind of quiet this year, if we're being honest.
Yeah, but it was still ugly to see. And thing is, from an offensive perspective, the Eagles didn't really change. And last year they were like 12-13-0 before they finally lost the game, and they were putting up big numbers on offense.
And they lost to the Commanders of all teams in their first loss.
But this year, I feel like they haven't been doing as well on offense.
100%. No, I agree, and I feel like that's the Super Bowl hangover kicking in there. I feel like, I feel like the running game is solid, and I feel like Jalen Hurts is decent, but I still feel like there's just some sort of weird disconnect happening between him and his receivers. And we talked about this at the beginning of the season. There was that whole conversation, where reporters asked A.J. Brown, they're like, so who's wide receiver one? Is it you or Devontae? And he's like, well, we're both wide receiver one. Well, then you go into the beginning part of the season where A.J. Brown gets mad that he's not contributing enough and Devontae Smith is doing well. And now it's the flip side. Now Devontae Smith is being questioned about being like, hey, how come you're not contributing enough? But A.J. Brown's doing just fine. So I feel like there's still a little bit of an issue there for the Eagles as far as getting the full extent of their offense to look back the way that it did, say, last year when they went to the Super Bowl, or let's say even back in the 2017-2018 season when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Good thing they still have the good old tush push.
Yeah, and they're the only ones who figured it out, I tell you.
I mean, the Kelce brothers even talked about that on their podcast, where Jason Kelce was just like, you just need some big, bulky guys up front. Just some really, really big, meaty guys up front. That's all you need.
Yeah. Now, yes, no, absolutely agree. And I agree that would be a good summary as far as like talking about the Eagles and the tush push. Now, on the flip side with the Jets and the offense, Now you kind of say a thing where it's like, okay, well the Jets are finally getting use out of Zach Wilson. Is he becoming better because he had Rodgers as his mentor, or is he still a career backup? Yeah, he's still a career backup. I'm not sold on it yet. And may I just add too that a lot of this came more from the defense and their
Mm-hmm.
abilities. That's not to say that Zach Wilson was horrible. He's like a complete liability on offense, but he's not great. And I don't think he had enough time to develop with Rodgers.
But I
I
mean,
don't
people
think
are
he's
even
becoming better
saying
because
when the Jets played the Chiefs that, oh, Zach Wilson outplayed Mahomes, and it was the first time Mahomes has been outplayed by the other quarterback.
I think it's more of a case of Zach Wilson knows that his job is on the line, even being a backup. And so
Mm-hmm.
he's at least going out there with a little bit of, I need to be better because people have doubted me. And here I am now being called to be the starter again because of Rodgers' injury. And then he had all that flack that came down from him from even someone as great as Joe Namath. So there's a little bit of a fire lit under him. And also this whole feeling of, oh man, my career is riding on this. I have to be better. But
Yeah,
it doesn't mean that he's a great quarterback.
yeah. I don't have faith in Zach Wilson. I think he's a washed up quarter. I won't even say a washed up. He's been a fraud quarterback since day one.
Yep, that's the best way to put it. I still feel like he's a fraud.
Can't believe he was taken 2 overall.
We've talked about it time and time
Oh,
again that that was a messed up class because of the COVID season and because of the developments that came from that for college football. But let's be honest, Shane, too, we've got some question marks about that quarterback heavy class anyway. If you're not a quarterback in that class, you look great. Almost all of them who are picked in the top
mm-hmm.
20 are amazing players. But the quarterbacks, there's questions there because, Trevor Lawrence, have we unlocked his full potential? No, haven't seen it yet. Justin Fields, big head scratcher there. Zach Wilson, not good. Trey Lance, not good. Mac Jones, well, I think we're starting to see that he's not good either.
Yep. Honestly, I think Lawrence and Fields are the only prospective ones out there, and Lawrence is doing decently. And honestly, I've said this time and time again. I'm gonna keep saying this. I think Fields is good, but he doesn't have the help that he needs around him.
And there's always the possibility, too, and yes, I say this as a Bears fan, that he could go somewhere else, and I feel like he could dominate.
Yep. Honestly, imagine Fields with the Jets offense.
It might be different. It really might be.
Couple more weapons and a good defense.
Yeah, it might be different.
All right, let's move on to our trending up and trending down.
Trending up. Well, I think we need to at least consider the Cleveland Browns based on our conversation here tonight.
Okay, Browns going in.
Um, Man, dude, we gotta hype up the Houston Texans. We haven't talked about them much, but hey, they're doing all right.
I have quietly talked about the Texans behind like closed doors. I'm like, man, people need to watch out for the Texans. They're like, oh no, the Texans suck. I'm like, Texans are kind of scary, and they've been without C.J. Stroud's new favorite receiver, Tank Dell. So keep an eye out.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not fully holding my breath on that one, but it's impressive, and I think they're trending up for sure.
They're doing better than what anybody thought them to be.
Yeah, definitely. Another team that's trending up. You know what? Give me the Washington Commanders.
The Commanders. I
They
like it.
got the win. They got the win, which is against the Texans, if I remember correctly.
I think so. Pulling up just to double check. No, it was
Yeah, make
against the
sure because what
Falcons.
the Falcons. That's right. The Texans, but the Texans won too, right?
Against the Saints, 13-20.
That's right. Yep. So they're both looking good. Yep. Give them their flowers. Those are our trending up. Not who I expected this week, but here we are.
Trending
Trending
down.
down. Buccaneers.
I mean, I never believed in the Buccaneers.
Yep, but they had a winning record, and they still do, but they were exposed.
I'm gonna name one. Titans.
Oh yeah.
Titans have looked
Big time.
very bad. They went from being tied for the winning of the AFC Championship last year and came down to the final game of the season to they are currently the laughingstock of the AFC South.
Yep. Absolutely. And the last one. I'm trying to think. My gut is to go with the Broncos, but it's almost like how could they trend even lower? They've been on our trending down so much.
I was like, the
You know
Broncos
what I
have
mean?
been on the down. Like, we're just shoving the Broncos over the cliff at this point.
Which means we should probably acknowledge the Chargers and put them here on the trend.
I would say Chargers or Patriots.
Patriots have been going down there just as much as the Broncos. Let's put the Chargers on there.
Alright, the Chargers it is. I can't argue with it. It's sad to say, but oof, they need to fit something very soon.
Yep, that's for sure. Okay, jumping into our Week 7 matchups. Our first one that we've got is Thursday Night Football, New Orleans Saints and Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, Shane, originally, I had the Jaguars winning this game, but then I kind of forgot about Trevor Lawrence's injury, and so because of that, I think the Saints might be able to capitalize and get the win in this game. If the Jaguars get the win out of this,
Without Lawrence?
watch out.
Ooh, boy.
Watch out. But I still think the Saints might be able to barely scrape out this win.
I think it's going to be a feisty game with or without Lawrence. And I think what it's going to come down to is one of two things. Well, actually, I think it's going to come down to one thing.
Okay.
Defense.
Yes.
Defense on both sides. Is whoever wins the defensive battle this week will win this game.
I agree. And because of that, my matchup monster, you say defense, I'm going to be specific, Cam Jordan.
Okay.
Hey. Falcons and Buccaneers division matchup. Now, Shane, Buccaneers were exposed. And yeah, the Falcons didn't get their win either, but I think the Falcons are a better football team.
I mean,
So with that being said,
Desmond Ritter's still not good in my mind, but...
No, he's not. He's not. But they've got other things around him. And so I think the Falcons are going to get the win here. It'll be gritty. It'll be close. But the Falcons will win. Matchup monster for this game. If we need to venture outside of Bijan Robinson here, I'm going to say maybe this is a little bit of a wake-up game for Drake London.
Oh, man. It's so hard not to say Bijan because I feel like this team has become Bijan Robinson at this point. Yeah, I'll stick with you with the Drake London, but ugh, is not pretty all around.
Yeah. Next up, Raiders and Bears. If Fields is hurt, which he most likely will be, and not in the game, it's a cakewalk for the Raiders.
He is doubtful this week, so...
Yeah, exactly. So, winner, matchup monster of this game, either Josh Jacobs or Jacoby Myers. I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs just because there's uncertainty with quarterback. It won't be Garoppolo.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Jacobs. He's consistent.
Well, sort of. He's actually been down this year.
He's one of the few players I trust on the Raiders team, so I'm like, he's consistent one way or another.
Yeah, I get that. Browns and Colts. Now, despite, that there's some faith as far as what Minshew can do for the Colts, there's still some disconnect as far as what is going to be happening here with the Colts and the running game. So because of that, we're kind of relying on the Browns defense to be able to put a stop here. With that being said, if we're going to have an offensive matchup monster, my money's on Amari Cooper. If we're going to have a defensive matchup monster, which I think is more likely, who else but Myles Garrett?
Yep, I mean, I will add one name, and it's not from the Browns. I'm going to say Zach Moss from the Colts.
Yep. If anything, if that's going to be something that unlocks the Colts, it'll come from Moss. I can see that.
Yep. Commanders versus Giants. We both have the Commanders winning. Honestly, the Giants are just a bad team.
Yes. It's very, very bad for them. Commanders, though, matchup monster for this game. It's going to sound weird kind of coming out of my mouth, but let's go with Sam Howell. Let's say he torches the Giants. No, I can't say that because the thing is the Giants' defense actually is not that bad. It's not that bad. It's just the Giants' O-line that is such a mess that makes the offense look like an utter trash heap. Commanders' matchup monster has to be someone on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm going to say it's a wake-up game for Chase Young.
I mean, I'll be ballsy. I'll say Sam Howell.
All right.
I got nothing to lose.
He throws for like 5 touchdowns.
Man, that would be great because I think I'm being forced to start him this week in a couple of fantasy leagues, so...
Oh, okay. Now we know why you picked Sam Howell.
When Fields gets hurt, Trevor Lawrence is hurt. Your choices are
Yeah,
either
I
Russell
get it.
Wilson,
I
Matt
know.
Jones, or Sam Howell.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not a great
I
day.
get it.
And Joe Burrow's on bye, so
Right. Okay. Lions and Ravens. We both got the Lions winning because the Lions look like one of the best teams in football right
five
now.
and one, baby, make it 6-1.
Matchup monster for this game. Oh, be cool to see Amon-Ra St. Brown have another game as big as he did. But let's go ahead and say that it switches other this time. It goes back to Josh Reynolds.
See, I'm gonna say this man. Oh, I'm gonna say Gibbs comes back from injury and they actually
Whoa,
use
you're
him.
going for it.
I'm going for
You're
it.
going for it. All right. I like it.
I love Montgomery, but I want Gibbs to come back and have a great game and be like, hey, off an injury, I am your guy moving forward.
Use me. Feed me.
And you also gotta remember, the Lions have only lost one game and it was in overtime.
That's true. That's true. They do look good. Okay. Bills and Patriots. Now we agree the Bills will win. Yeah, it was close against the Giants, but come on, man.
Bills
Bills
win
will
much
get the
better.
win on this. Yeah. Matchup monster for this game. Go ahead and give me Gabe Davis.
I was
I
gonna say
picked
you're
that
gonna
one
say
before, but
Gabe
give me
Davis. I can feel it.
Yeah, I'm feeling it.
I'll say
And yeah,
James
I knew
Cook.
you were going to say James Cook. I knew you were going to say James
I
Cook.
don't like picking Stephon Diggs every week.
Neither do I. But you picked James Cook last week. Although I think I picked Gabe Davis the week before that.
You
so.
did. I mean, I'm looking at the Bills team and I'm just like, well, let's see here. Dalton Kincaid is injured. Dawson Knox,
Yeah,
they don't really throw it to him. After
true.
James Cook, there's Latavius Murray, but I mean, do you really trust Latavius Murray to do anything?
Yes. Kidding, no.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, you shut your mouth right now. Anyways, there's not many people. Honestly, there's not many players that I'm like, oh, I love this Bills player. I'm just like, kind of thin now.
Yep. They get the job done. All right. What about the Cardinals and the Seahawks? We got the Seahawks winning this game. The bounce back game for them. But who's the matchup monster? Do I dare say maybe they do actually start to unlock the potential of Njigma?
No.
Maybe not in this game.
No.
I think with the ability to go against the Cardinals when it comes to facing off against their run defense, give me Kenneth Walker.
Okay. Do you know who I am picking on this one?
Tyler Lockett.
Man, you are good.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, that was totally a shot in the dark. I'm not gonna lie.
I was thinking, I'm like,
You,
DK
you even heard it in
Metcalf.
my voice. I was like, Tyler Lockett? Question mark?
Oh man.
That was awesome.
Oh,
All right,
I will
cool.
list
I'm
one other one. One other one.
Okay.
Devin Witherspoon.
Give me one other one too. Bobby Wagner.
We're just listing the whole team at this point.
Exactly, because it's the Cardinals.
I mean, hey, could be the Panthers.
Yeah, but I said that more. It's the Cardinals to rub salt in the wound for the freaking Cowboys.
Oh, the Cowboys.
All right. Steelers and Rams. We're thinking the Rams got this one.
Oh yeah, with
Matchup
Cup
monster.
back and everything. Whew.
Yep. You got Cup as your matchup monster?
No, I'm not that crazy.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna say Puka Nakua because I don't think I've
That's
ever
what
said
I
him.
wanted to say. I freaking love Puka Nakua.
I mean, we can both have Puka Nakua.
Yep, that's what we're doing. Go with Puka.
Oh, Puka.
All right. This is one of the few matchups where we disagree this week. We got the Packers and the Broncos. Shane, you say the Broncos win? I say the Packers win. And I only say the Packers win because even though they are that big of a mess, they're not as big of a mess as the Broncos are. And something
Honestly,
inevitably will go wrong for the Broncos, and the Packers defense will capitalize it, and it will be the win for them.
I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to pit some upset wins this week, and I feel like this was the best shot at one. Not gonna lie.
I guess. Yeah,
Hey,
yeah, I guess that's fair.
if they do what they did against the Dolphins a couple weeks back, then they could easily win this game.
They could.
I don't see it, but it's possible.
Yeah, I really don't.
Matchup
Matchup
monster.
monster this game, Jair Alexander.
I am gonna say Kirtland Sutton.
All right. Just before he gets traded. Goes
Right
off.
before he's gonna put on a statement game just to feed the interest, and then the Broncos will be like, "Great, you did so good for us. Go play with this team and get us a whole bunch of draft picks that we want."
Yeah,
I mean, heck,
that's
that's why I
true.
try doing fantasy football. Is that once a player has like a really good week, I immediately try to trade them.
I understand that. I get it.
Still sad I can't trade for Anthony Richardson though. Still upset about it. It's a keepers league, but I'm like, I'm offering you Josh Jacobs, and it was either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields for Anthony Richardson, who may be injured the rest of the season. I'm still getting told no.
Yeah, I get that. Hey, here's three things actually that I do want to bring up really quickly here before we go into our last two games of this upcoming week that I think we do at least need to bring up because it is important. One of these I can kind of gloss over really quickly. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers' recovery is ahead of schedule,
Mm-hmm.
and so he does still have the goal to be able to return to play for the regular season. I think it's still incredibly doubtful, and there's still hurdles that remain.
Walking without a
So,
boot,
but I do
though.
think it's a good thing to bring up. It is, yes, exactly, and he's been taking some snaps kind of just for fun. You know what I mean? So there is possibility there. Um, According to ESPN, Shane, Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence said that his left knee has improved rapidly over the past 2 days, and he is optimistic he'll be able to play in Thursday night's game against New Orleans.
Yeah, he's been saying that, and he's also been saying, I'm going to do everything I can to play on Thursday. So I'm just like, still worried, though.
Yeah, I understand. The last thing we
Saints
need
are
to bring
known for
up
Bounty
too.
Gate.
Yes, that's true, and their defense is good. Last thing we need to bring up: the Philadelphia Eagles signed seven-time Pro Bowler Julio Jones to a deal,
1 year deal.
a one-year deal.
I mean,
Very interesting.
I don't mean this in a negative way, because loved Julio Jones in his prime, but like I said,
But he's
in
washed
his
now.
prime.
Yeah, he's washed now. It's kind of like Larry Fitzgerald during the last few years with the Cardinals.
I did love Larry Fitzgerald.
I do too, but let's be honest, production was not great for him
True.
towards the end of his career there.
I will never forget that Larry Fitzgerald and Troy Polamalu going against each other. That was just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Good times. Good times.
For sure. All right. Now we've got the Dolphins and the Eagles. Now, Shane, because of the situation, because of the uncertainty that's happening with the Eagles, we're picking the Dolphins to win, which I feel like is pretty safe.
Yeah, I think the Dolphins are safe, easy pick. Honestly, that offense
I mean,
terrifies me.
yes, very, very fast and insane, whether you have Devon Achane there or not.
Yep. So who is your matchup monster there?
Yeah, I, give me Tyreek Hill.
I knew you would do it, but I can't blame you for it.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna happen.
I think he's still out for right now, which is why I'm not going to say him. So instead, I'm going to say Raheem Mostert.
Yep, that's a good one too. He'll go off because he did last week, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, and then our last one,
Monday
we
Night
got the
Football.
Niners and the Vikings. Now, we disagree on this one. You say the Vikings will get the win. I say the 49ers will. The reason that I say the 49ers will win it and not the Vikings, despite whatever injuries are coming, is because the Browns got the win because they have a good defense. The Vikings have nothing right now.
Oh, is Jefferson still out right now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I am definitely saying the 49ers then. I thought he was going to be back
Yeah.
this week.
Nope, he's on IR for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yep, and we even got people agreeing, saying Vikings defense very, very bad, which hate to see it. Vikings might honestly be out of contention this season, I would say, because they're what? Oh wow, they're 2-4 and probably gonna go 2-5.
Yep, most likely.
Yikes. Okay, well, who is your matchup monster?
Well, you know what? I know I threw him out last week, but I'm going to say here it is again. Brandon Ayuk, and I say that because you don't have Debo there, and there will be a little bit of getting McCaffrey back to form with his injury. I know it's not serious, but
Ayuk
yeah,
is going to be the probably number one weapon there. If I had to pick another, I would say Kittle.
yeah, that's a good pick too.
Now we move to the for the fun.
All right, here we go. So this is our season awards prediction. Now understand, this is not for the fans' specific choice for the awards. We do that later. But rather, it's a prediction of which football player or coach will win each of the prestigious season awards given by the NFL. And we are basically making that pick as far as what we think who will be chosen. So, first one we always start off with is the comeback player of the year. Potential nominees for this: you got Baker Mayfield as the quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You got Tua Tagovailoa for the Dolphins, and you got Damar Hamlin for the Buffalo Bills. Shane, we are in consensus here, and I believe he's the runaway favorite in the odds makers as well. It's Damar Hamlin for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I was gonna say I honestly I really like the Tua pick here, but the full story with the Damar Hamlin I think is just too easy to pick him as the comeback player of the year.
Absolutely. All right. Now we've got Coach of the Year, the award for that. Now we have the potential nominees here. We've got Nick Sirianni for the Eagles, Mike McDaniel for the Dolphins, and Dan Campbell for the Detroit Lions. Shane, we're in consensus here as well. We're going with Dan Campbell. I know the Lions were having a high pick as far as expecting to be good enough to compete this year, which they certainly have been, and they're looking like one of the best teams in football right now. We knew the Dolphins would be good. We knew the Eagles would be good again, but the Lions have certainly surpassed even the expectations they already had for
Yeah,
this season.
it's not a
Dan Campbell.
yeah, it's not that just a these teams we expected to be good. It's that right now I honestly expected the Lions to be 4-2, possibly 3-3. I didn't expect them to be 5-1, with one of those wins coming against the Kansas City Chiefs, who the Lions are the only team to have beat the Chiefs so far. So
Yep. It says something, and I think they're going to continue to do well here.
next up, we got our
Defensive
defensive
rookie.
rookie of the year nominees. We got Jalen Carter of the Philadelphia Eagles, Devin Witherspoon of the Seattle Seahawks, and Lucas Van Ness of the Green Bay Packers.
And we disagree on this one. Now, I can see why you're taking your pick, Shane, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it shakes out this way. You've got Devin Witherspoon. I've got Jalen Carter, and I think, as I think about it, your pick is probably more likely because of Jalen Carter's injuries. It may decrease his candidacy a little bit here, but I still like the pick, and I think it's still a definite possibility.
I think honestly it's going to come down between these two forbidding any future injuries.
Yes, I agree. Okay. Then we've got the offensive rookie of the year potential nominees. We got Bijan Robinson, obviously. You got CJ Stroud, and you got Devon Achane for the Dolphins. Now, we disagree on this one too. Now, Shane, you picked Bijan Robinson, which I understand because he has looked really good. But the problem is, I feel like some of his production has decreased lately, and the Falcons aren't looking as solid, whereas the Texans are on the up and up. And as we know, they prefer to pick quarterbacks for this role and this award. So that's why I have CJ Stroud.
See, I have Bijan Robinson because he's been doing great all season, and honestly, I'm so over the quarterback. Yes, CJ Stroud is more likely because it's always going to be a quarterback kind of award, but humor me and just say this isn't guaranteed to go to a quarterback. I think it should go to Bijan.
Yes, I would agree with that. All right. Defensive Player of the Year potential nominees. We have Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, and Micah Parsons, and we agree it should go to Myles Garrett.
Yes,
I
we
think
do.
it's I think it's the obvious pick. Not the Browns defense is looking good. It stopped the Niners this week. Myles Garrett is looking like a monster. It should go to him.
Yeah, Myles Garrett, very, very good, and everyone else is kind of quiet. Let's move on to our Offensive Player of the Year nominees. We got Christian McCaffrey of the 49ers, Lamar Jackson of the Ravens, and Tyreek Hill of the Miami Dolphins.
And we agree. Tyreek Hill wins it. I think
Honestly,
he's still on pace. He's gonna break that record, and it's yeah, it's his.
yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, he's still on pace for that 2,000 yards, so I think he might be able to do it.
Yep. I would definitely agree.
And last but not least, the quarterback award. The MVP nominees, we got Jalen Hurts of the Eagles, Josh Allen of the Bills, and Tua Tagovailoa of the Miami Dolphins. And we always like to throw in one extra, Christian McCaffrey of the 49ers.
Yep. But it's not going to go to Christian McCaffrey, unfortunately.
Sadly, no.
And we disagree on this one. You say Tua. I say Josh Allen. Let's hear your reasoning for Tua.
Honestly, if Tua helps Tyreek Hill get to that 2,000 yard mark, he's going to easily get over 4,000 whatever yards. He's going to be having a good team. And depending on how his record shapes out this season, I think it could be that he is the guy that wins it this year. But I do think his biggest competition is going to be Josh Allen.
And I say it's Josh Allen just because I feel like the Bills are doing well enough. You're going to see a couple more dynamic games from Josh Allen. And I just feel like when you're stacking what is going to end up looking at his stats versus Tua's and Jalen Hurts, Tua's going to regress here a little bit, and Josh Allen is going to pick up. So that's why I feel like it'll end up going to Allen.
Only time will tell, though.
And it's very much up in the air. For all I know, Tua could continue to do well, and maybe Josh Allen completely plummets here.
Yeah, I mean, if I honestly I feel like if Dids ever goes down, Josh Allen is going to be in trouble.
Yes. Because then what is the future holding for the Bills there? That's
Gabe
for sure.
Davis.
Yeah, right. All right. And with that, that is our episode for this evening. And we've got a lot of interesting matchups that are coming up this week. A few good ones. I think the Monday Night Football and the Sunday Night Football are both going to be good matchups.
I think Thursday
Honestly.
night could be fun because we don't know how Jaguars Saints will shake out. Because you also got to remember, Jaguars went from playing London 2 weeks in a row to playing at home this past week, and now they're going to New Orleans. So that's 3 different time zones and a lot of travel within 3 weeks.
For sure. And I
And
will
it's a
say
short
one
week.
more thing too. Yes, and I will say one more thing too. If the Ravens are going to wake up and they're going to realize they have to fight for their division, it may give the Lions a real good game. I think that
That's
one could be
true.
good too.
If the Lions
Some
hold
good
the
ones
Ravens
here.
off though, whoo boy.
Oh yeah, some good ones here. And then the thing is when we come back next week, Shane, we've got to start talking about trades because that's coming up. We'll probably already have some trades that'll come in before our next episode.
Yep, man, could it really be like this week already?
Could be for sure.
I mean, I feel like the Broncos are going to be busy with the trade phones trying to figure out how they can get some draft picks and trade away some of their players.
I think the most of that is going to come from the Broncos fire sale. I would agree.
Yep.
And it depends on as far as like where where what they actually want to get out of their players. Are they going to demand a king's ransom for Judy or for Sutton? I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know exactly what the plan is there. Um, I don't know. It's interesting. One more funny thing, Shane. Apparently, Tyler has been commenting on the Discord as of right now, but he did text me too, probably because we weren't paying attention enough there. But uh, his thoughts were on this, and I think we do need to talk about it a little bit. He doesn't feel like there's been anyone who's been a standout for MVP this year, and you know what? To a level, I kind of agree with that because I don't believe Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen or Tua has been running away with it. You know who I do believe has been running away with it is Christian McCaffrey. But at the same time, whether it's his injury or whether it's the strength of the 49ers team or whether it's the fact that he's not a quarterback, it's going to be a disadvantage for him.
Yep, but only time will tell. And I mean, I can't disagree. Honestly, I think it's honestly there's no real standout for the MVP right now.
And so we voiced our picks as far as Tua and Josh Allen, mainly just because of what Josh Allen can accomplish in games, and Tua is leading in a lot of categories as far as passing. But is it enough when push comes to shove?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Could this finally be the year that a non-quarterback gets one since Adrian Peterson won it, what, 12, 13 years ago?
11. It was 2012. That's when Adrian Peterson won it.
But I mean, still,
I can
over a
reach that.
decade?
I can reach that far back. I can reach that far back in my knowledge of NFL history.
I was like, to be fair, it's been over a decade since a non-quarterback has won this award, so...
And I feel like the time needs to come, okay? I'm a little, not necessarily that these names are bad, but I'm a little over hearing of the Peyton Mannings and the Tom Bradys and the Aaron Rodgers, who some of them are even gone already now. I don't need to see Patrick Mahomes win another MVP award, which, by the way, may I throw out there, Mahomes does not look as good as he used to. And I wonder if that's because Eric Bieniemy is now with the Commanders, but it is very concerning on one hand, I think, for Chiefs fans, because it's like, okay, how come all of a sudden Mahomes doesn't look that good? The passing offense doesn't look that good. Where do you throw the blame? Do you throw it on Mahomes? Do you throw it on Kelce? Do you throw it on Andy Reid? Do you throw it on Matt Nagy? Do you throw it on Taylor Swift? I don't know.
Throw it on Taylor Swift. She'll just shake it
Yeah,
off.
right. Oh, Shane, I hate you. Oh, that was awful. Ooh, that was bad.
Hey, you're a dad. You should be used to these kind of jokes.
Yeah, but that one still hurt me.
To be fair, I say Mahomes' bad play comes from him not having any solid weapon outside of Travis Kelce.
That's fair. That's a good point. And we saw that exposed in week 1.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I have to actually look up who their players are now. Let's see. Oh, my.
You got Rashee Rice. You got Kadarius Toney. You've got... good heck. Noah Gray.
Sky Moore. Jerick McKinnon. Isaiah Pacheco.
Hey, don't hate on Pacheco. That's my boy.
Here's the thing. Here's the top receivings just from this last game. Travis Kelce has that number 1 with 9 catches for 120 yards. Rashee Rice is number 2 with 4 catches and 72 yards. Then Pacheco at 6 catches for 36 yards. And then it's Sky Moore with 2 catches.
Which is saying something because Rashee Rice is a rookie and Isaiah Pacheco is a running back.
And get this. Number 1, tight end. Number 2, rookie wide receiver. 3, running back. 4, second-year wide receiver.
Yeah.
Number 5, we go back to running back with Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah, it's there's not much there, which may be able to account for Mahomes' poor play. He's not going to be an MVP candidate this year. I mean, obviously he's not on the list for us here. You've got others who are playing a lot better. I mean, again, another shout out for Tyler. He says outside of Kelce, maybe we should just give Kelce the MVP because he's the only receiver on the team, or give him Offensive Player of the Year.
Yep, saw that same thing. I mean, honestly, if Kelce wasn't getting hurt so much this year, I think he would be a lock for a lot more. But he's been off and on. Apparently, his only good games currently is when Taylor Swift is in attendance. Hey, this was like this last week was like the quietest I've heard about the Travis Kelce Taylor Swift fiasco.
I know it's dying down. No, the reason that I did that groan is because I was about ready to make a Taylor Swift pun, but I held back. Oh man. Well, with that, obviously, we know we're probably not going to get away from much more talk about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce until that ends, and it's going to continue to be a topic that comes up when we discuss the Kansas City Chiefs. I guess it was to be expected because obviously they stopped talking about Brittany Mahomes and Jackson Mahomes so much. Now they got to talk about something else.
Well, now they're talking
But
about Taylor Swift and Brittany Mahomes being besties and hanging out all the time. Ugh.
hey, we can probably end the episode with
Yep,
that
yep,
because
we're
I
ending
don't
this.
really want to
I'm
get
done with the
into that.
Taylor Swift talk already.
But either way, going back to the situation with the NFL, you're right. There's still a lot to be said as far as what how some of these player awards are going to shake out based upon individual performances, and a lot of that can be determined even just within this week as far as how some of these plays are going to shake up and how some of these games are going to end up going. Big one I'm looking forward to: Dolphins and Eagles. We find out, are the Eagles frauds or are the Dolphins? Looking good. I'm excited for it.
It will be a good one. Until then, we will see you all next week.
Have a good week.